Hi, I'm Sumit. You're watching Bork Business. Today's episode, we'll be talking about the business we run today and how it all came about because of guilt. Guilt.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, what are you talking about? So let's set the scene. So in the last episode, we talked about on message, and we ended with, well, what was the biggest mistake? And you went, basically.
Well, I went to the toilet.
Many of that. You said we didn't know where we were going to go.
We didn't know where we were going to go.
Okay, so let's set the scene that we'd already done some work in the energy sector.
Yes.
And then one day at the end of 2009.
Okay. So in 2009, we were doing quite a bit of video filming for a number of clients in energy. So some of the big six and also a particular bunch called Encore International, who we liked a lot. And I had to take some videos to a show called The Energy Event, and I'd been there the year before. And what I'd realised the first year was that it was a pretty big show, and when I went the second time, it was an even bigger show. So that got me thinking, and also I was a little bit fed up with the on-message sort of, I was having to sell, we'd do the work, then I'm back out on the sales trail, and we didn't really, and we were never going to sell that company, were we?
No, I wouldn't have thought. I mean, our biggest problem, as we said in the previous episode, was that don't matter what your reputation is. It's like like a volume deal, isn't it? It's like a beans deal.
Yes.
If you can get video for £5 and someone else will charge you 10, most people go, I don't really care about the quality of video. I'll do the 5.
Yeah.
And we had that problem quite a lot.
Yeah. So I think we never had a great value proposition around on message. We'd never really used our strength, which was the fact that you had been on the BBC.
Yeah.
And actually, most people, once they met you, realised that actually that was such a load of cack anyway.
Carry on. This episode, I'm not going to interrupt him.
Oh, brilliant.
I'm going to let him hang himself.
Okay, even better. So I went to the energy event.
I just realised what I thought. Okay.
Right, come on. Right. So I went. So it got me thinking, being at the energy event, that we should be doing something much more around energy. And his strength was he did news. So I said to Sumit, I think we should be looking at doing something in energy around news. And you if I remember rightly, you said it's really expensive to do.
I said, F right off. Are you mentally insane more than I think you are? Do you know how much it costs to set up a news channel? To which you said, we've got £5,000.
I don't know if we had actually had £5,000.
No, I think we just about had £5,000.
I think it was like along the lines of, well, if we don't have a go. Anyway, you were definitely umming and ahhing.
Well, I was,
Right,
and so then there's something happened. So he gave me a ring. I think it was Christmas,
I'll explain this much better. So it was
Christmas, wasn't it? I can't remember.
Early December.
Yeah, that's right.
Early December, and I'm at a Christmas Carol concert, where I think one of the girls was singing, and I got a text from a very good friend of mine, and it just said, "Oh, it's so sorry to hear the news." So it got me thinking, and I just said to Amanda, my wife, I just said, "Look, I'm going to pop out and take this call." So I went out, rang this friend of mine, and he just said, "Isn't it such terrible news about," and I won't mention his name, we did have that debate earlier, so I won't mention the person's name, he's committed suicide. I said, no, he can't have. And he said, yeah, he has. And so that night, so I got home, it was about 7 o'clock, and literally I did not go to sleep all night, because I realised that this was a bit of a wake-up call to me. I was probably in my 40s, early 40s. I was working in...
Early 40s.
Was it mid-40s? Oh, good, yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, right. No, actually, it's close. No, actually, it's mid-40s. It was mid-40s, everybody. Anyway, not early 40s, mid-40s. Okay. But what it made me realise was that I wanted to... We'd been talking about this new service for energy, and I really was keen to do it because I thought it could be right for us. So I rang up Sumit the next day, and basically I played a guilt trip on... I didn't even play it, I just did a guilt trip on him, which was...
Big time.
Mate of mine committed suicide last night. I think we got a great idea around this energy news service. We'd be mad not to do it. You've got a week to decide. Let me pass it over to you now.
So basically he said that... I don't know what, the way I took it. I was like, what are you on about? Frankly,
Yeah, actually, I've never asked you about your feelings about it.
Yeah, the week to decide was utter bullshit because he rubbish. But he basically was like, I suppose the thing that it triggered was life is short, and we all know that. And unfortunately, I've just recently heard some news from a friend of mine about one of their relatives who passed away, and my own cousin passed away very young, just over the last year. And you suddenly realise actually time is short. So I wasn't, I'd only met this person once, and it seemed a very nice person, so I kind of knew who the person was. And I thought, that's terrible for his family, of course. But then I suddenly thought, what is he talking about? Is he talking about opportunity, lost opportunity? And so I did some research. Now, this bit is quite funny.
Did you? I didn't know this. Yeah, okay.
So the research was this, basically.
I think I know where this is going. I know where this is going to.
I thought, right, he's talking a load of cack like he normally talks, but let me just have a look what's out there. So I read some of the news sites that were there in the energy sector. They're all trade press, and they're all very good, doing their bit, but I just frankly, be honest with you, I thought they were bloody dull. I thought they were dull. I thought they were just like kind of too techie, and I wasn't interested in the stuff. So I thought, what's missing? I thought, what is missing is just tell it short and sharp in a tabloid way. No one was using video. And the very interesting thing was that no one was covering all of energy.
No.
So there were loads of sites about renewable, and there were loads of sites about kind of, electricity. No one wanted to talk about coal because it was like evil even then.
Yes.
And gas, there was only the kind of upstream stuff. So I then looked at it and I thought, well, looking at where technology is, maybe his idea is not as bullshit as I thought. So I said, all right, fine. And I called a very old good mate of mine, Graham Fitz, who will probably appear on one episode, one of my old editors from the BBC. I said, look, is this a bonkers idea? He said, no. We looked at what technology there was, and we tried to do something that was completely mad.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
So, when you launch a news service, one of the things you want to do is have a bloody audience, but not us. We decided to launch it through a weird little platform that we'd seen at a tech show,
Yeah.
which involved a Flash player. Now, I don't know if Flash is still there. People still use Flash. Rob? Flash, yeah. Anyway, it used to be very big 10 years ago. So
there was a lot of flashing going around.
So we said, wouldn't it be great if we put the news in this little Flash player, it sits on people's websites, and then you just click on it, it pops down, brings you the news. Because that's really good. It tucks away and brings you the news.
It was such a daft idea.
And both of us went, yeah, that's really good.
So basically, we did a beta test of our site for about 18 months until we decided to go onto WordPress and Google. And finally, Google saw it. So we had this Flash player that Google did not see any of the content. So we were a news service that Google did not see.
It was brilliant.
That's probably one of the biggest. If you want to learn from our mistakes, now that's a great mistake to learn from.
Remember, technology is not great if it doesn't actually get you the business you need.
Or the audience you need.
Or the audience you need in our case. So, to go how we set up the company, it was basically, I rang an old mate of mine who was frankly just been made redundant, Journo, so Kelv. So I got him involved and I said, right, what are you doing next few months? Help us write some stories. And then I was teaching at probably the world's worst course at Middlesex University.
Hello, Pri.
Hello, Pri. But I uncovered a nugget. Not just a nugget, a diamond. So there were a few students there, and I said to the students, look, we're going to do this this kind of news service. Do you want to get involved? And they were all like, yeah. Anyway, they came in, and only one of them has stuck around. She said she was going to do it. She carried on doing it. So Priyanka Shrestha, round of applause. Yeah, who wasn't actually employee number one, but was the first person involved in this thing.
Anyway, we're really getting off on a tangent now. Let's go back to Gil.
But this is no. So we basically then said, right, we've got some news. We're going to populate this site that no one can see.
Yes.
For 3 months.
Yes.
And so we piled up the content. And the weirdest thing was, and this is a real pointer, I think, for anyone who's starting a business, you don't need to know your market. Right, because we certainly didn't.
No, wait a minute. We didn't know energy, but we knew you knew about news and journalism.
Yeah, but I didn't know
that was your market.
Well, I wouldn't say I knew the skill base. Yeah, so I built on a skill base.
Okay, but most entrepreneurs will say that actually you're best to set up in something you know. You did set up in, say, news.
certainly didn't know energy. And don't
No,
really
but
know much
remember,
about it.
you asked the dumb question.
Pretty much, because that's all I can think of anyway. But we started off by going, what is out there, who's doing what, and how does it work? Really simple stuff. And then the miracle of miracles was you managed to sell stuff to people. So do you want to tell how you got the first sale without
Yes.
without a PowerPoint, without a business plan, without anything?
Okay, yes, okay, that's very, yes.
So we come up with the use concept.
So we came up with the concept.
Okay,
and
who are you going to sell it to?
So we knew 3 people.
We need 3 people in energy.
We knew 3 people in energy.
One was his mum, the other was mine.
So one was Encore that, bless them, had got us in,
Yeah.
and the trouble was they were getting sold at the time, so they
Yeah.
really loved the idea, but they weren't going to give us any money.
Yeah.
I went and saw one of the big 6, and they went, that's a really good idea, we want to do this, we want to do that, and then it just didn't happen. And then the third one I went to, they said, well, what's it going to look like? So I drew 2 boxes on a flip chart. And when it'll be like this, I don't know what I was doing. But they loved the idea. So actually, they then really supported us. And they supported us both from an Energy Live news point of view and from an on-message point of view. So
Yeah.
it just goes to prove that you don't need to have brochures or websites or fancy videos or whatever. If you've got the right idea, the right concept, and you've got the right determination, passion about it, it can work. Now, frankly, we didn't make loads of money in the first 18 months, and that's another guilt trip I laid on
There
you.
is another guilt trip. But the point that I think is important here is the you know, when you went there, and I said, what did you take? Because we had nothing. We've got to remember, we had a bunch of stories sitting on a platform that no one could see. And he went out to the people, and they said, what did you draw on the
No,
flip
this
chart?
was even before we got there.
No, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
But what did you draw on the flip chart?
I drew 2 boxes.
What did you put?
I just sort of pointed at it.
So, the
I'm
lesson...
good at point. I actually did a presentation once where I didn't actually have a flip chart or a whiteboard, and I just kept pointing to this white wall. There were 30 people.
So the lesson out there for all budding business people is just believe in what you're flogging.
Yes.
You don't actually need. Now, this is quite a serious point. We've had loads of people that have come through the ranks of ELN have said, oh, we need these sales packs, we need all this stuff. And the truth is, you don't. You know, I know that the world is now all about kind of PowerPoint and show us your top line and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's about one thing, communicating an idea.
Yeah, it's communicating the idea, but also giving them the impact. So if you can say to somebody, right, so we did an event last week and we promised that we'd have 200 people there, 200 people plus turned up. So all the sponsors got leads that they were after, and we did exactly what we said we'd do. And I think we're trusted in being able to do that.
Yeah, but not at the beginning we weren't.
No, definitely not at the beginning, no. But I think then we just had an idea that was ahead of the curve.
Was it sold on the fact that 2 things that we had, which is one was my journalistic reputation,
Yeah.
but B, they bought into you, because you were the salesman, weren't they?
Well, that's a good question.
Because I mean, I don't think we'll mention who it was that gave us
we
that,
can't.
because we can't. But that person, he'd met us both.
Well, that's got rid of 50% of the
Yeah.
population.
He'd met us both, and he basically, I think he liked us, but he didn't
Yes.
really know us.
No.
And he gave you the time of day to have the meeting.
Yes.
With the ridiculous flip chart moment.
Yes.
But he must have bought into your passion or your conviction of what we were going to do.
Okay, so again, remember, he met us when we were doing the Encore stuff. So he'd seen what we had done for Encore.
Yeah.
So effectively, there was like a testimonial
There was
or
a bit of
case
a
study,
testimonial, yes.
which really helped. And I think what he saw from that, when we said, look, we're going to do more of that and in a better way, I think he sort of thought, I'm going to take the opportunity. And also, he's forward thinking, which was quite fortunate.
We're going to do selling as one of the shows, but very briefly at this point, why don't you use a PowerPoint?
Oh, God. So I used to use PowerPoint all the time. It was a really good aid memoir. However, in the end, most of my meetings nowadays tend to be 1 or 2 people. So I like to listen. So I like to ask questions, I like to listen and just sort of understand, hey, if we can't help, I'll tell them I can't help.
Yeah, but when you're pitching, right? So that was basically a pitch.
Yeah.
That was our first pitch.
Yeah.
You can't listen in a pitch.
No, but
Or can you?
well, you can, because you ask some questions, because you can ask things like what you're doing and how you're doing it and what you're not liking. You know, if you find out that, you know, what we do is really trying to get them in front of an audience that is relevant to them. So if they're not getting that with the people they're working with or their internal efforts, and they say, yeah, we got, you know, most people will say, oh, we're doing all right, but there's always something that you can pick up on. Then if it aligns with what you've got to sell, great. If you don't, I mean, so we're very much industrial and commercial energy users. If people say, I want to get to SME end users, I turn around to them and say, don't use us. It's better to be upfront with them and say, we can't help. And then that way, the next time I go and I might have something that they want, they'll trust me.
All right. Frankly, didn't answer it, but okay. So.
Well, what was the question?
Why you don't use PowerPoint? Basically, you just use the force of your bloody personality.
Oh, okay. Okay,
you
sorry.
just badger them.
Okay, bring that camera back to me. Okay, why don't I use PowerPoint? Because I think it's a bit impersonal nowadays, actually, and also everyone uses it. So I'm quite a contrarian, so I like not to do what everyone else does. That's not necessarily right, but it seems to work for me. And also, I think it's a piece of technology getting in the way. I am not afraid to use screens, so if someone wants to look at Energy Live News, I can always put it up on a phone or an iPad or their computer or their screen. However, most people know what we do, so we don't have to go through that.
Okay, let's take us back then. So he goes and pitches this and we get a first bit of money. So then we have to build a business, okay? So you build a business by basically, normally what you do is you get some sales, then you invest.
Yes.
We went the other way.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I realised very quickly that you can't run this business, a news service, by yourself. So it might be fine that he's selling, but we've got to deliver. So my friend he said he could do a few months as a freelancer. So he did that. And then I realised I had to hire some more journalists. So we talked about it and I said, well, we certainly can't use any of my mates at the BBC because they'd just all be bloody expensive. We've got no money, 2 brass farthings to run together. So we thought, who can we find that would be keen? And Pri had already shown that some students would be up there. So I thought, right, we'll go to the graduate talent pool and we'll see if we can if we can find young people that want to join a growing startup. And that's how we first got our first staff. So our first employee, Simon Jaggy, who's out in the film industry now, I found him on Graduate Talent Pool, came in to do this sort of camera work. Then we recruited a journo, Tom. And I realised very much then, the weirdest thing was, and maybe a lot of people who start businesses have to do this, they had no knowledge, so I had to train them. And that was the thing, that you were getting on with trying to sell the business, but I was trying to build the actual content by, and that was a tough bit of trying to train people to do things like basic camera work and basic story writing and that process. And I think when you start a new business, at the end of the day, it's you. You know, it doesn't matter, you know, unless you're really lucky that you can bring in talent, you've got the money, seed money, often people have to start the thing themselves or get someone and train them, don't they?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I think invariably, if you set up a business, you're trying to we're
not talking self-employed person. We're talking about hiring people, aren't we?
Yeah. I suppose one of the bottlenecks for us has actually we've allowed ourselves to stay in the business to an extent. I know you were very quick to get a reporters team, which did help.
Production team,
in that sense. But I still think we're the bottleneck. I mean, that's another episode. You know, what's the obstacles to your business? But in terms of the bottlenecks to our business, I think we probably are the two bottlenecks.
But the training bit, I suppose what would have been great is if you could have found someone to be like an apprentice salesperson for you, but there wasn't anyone. You know, I could train the journos and the.
Oh no, I think you can. It's just I think I'm a bit rubbish at it. Yeah. So well, you know.
So let's skip forward.
What are you trying to do the guilt on me now?
No, let's do guilt part 2. So the business has been going for around about probably
9 years.
I think no. I'm talking back to when this guilt moment happened.
Oh,
so we'd launched in the May of 2010.
Yeah, it was 2009.
2009
December.
the idea, yeah, and then May of 2010 we actually launched May the 10th. It was just after the election. I remember it. The coalition was in. So anyway, we ran for about 6 months to probably a bit longer, around about sort of early January, February of the year 2011. I was in crisis because I said...
Oh, it was this guilt trip. Right, okay.
So the business was hemorrhaging cash. Okay, we had virtually no customers. I think we had one customer maybe.
Yeah.
All the things we thought we could sell, no one was buying.
Yeah.
We had no audience whatsoever. Very, very few, because A, they couldn't find us for a start.
Yeah.
We'd hired Simon, Tom, and I think Vicky was about to come on board. I'd blown all my savings, and the money we'd made from On Message, which we were using to prop up Energy Live News, was bleeding away.
Yeah.
And I said to you, this is shit. I said, what are we doing? This is doomed.
Doomed?
We're doomed. And you said...
God, I remember it so clearly. I go, I don't think this is working. I want to give up. Right, okay. Well, you can, and I'll buy you out. And I'll buy you out today. And he went...
With what?
With what? And I went,
that's what I said.
Yeah, with what? But the funniest thing was, it was worth nothing anyway.
Exactly. The company had no money. It was being propped up by our salaries that was just going up. We were paying everyone except ourselves.
Yeah.
I had a psycho ex-wife.
You used to have hair.
I used to have hair. I had hair. I had an ex-wife that was giving me grief. I had maintenance for my child. I had mortgage debts. I was getting crushed. And you were like...
Are you trying to do this guilt trip back on me again?
And you were like, I'll buy you out. With what? But he did say this one bit, because he's a bit of a... Is there one of your psychobabble books here at all?
Bounce.
No, anyway. So he does a lot of psychobabble, right? So NLP, KFC, all of that.
I'm not going to be at KFC.
So he did this thing where he said... and this was it. The money buying out was bullshit, and I knew that. But you did say one thing good, didn't you? You said... Put the money aside. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So tell that. That's the message.
Okay. So,
which is rubbish.
Yeah, okay. I said, putting the money aside. Are you enjoying what you're doing, and do you think we're a success? And you said yes. So I was right.
Yeah, but
I'm always right.
No money.
I'm always right. Just remember, I am always right.
So basically, what he did was, it was quite a bit of psychology that was clever. He did this thing because I am, again, we're bringing Paul back in. Right?
Yeah, we get slag my brother off,
right? So I am quite a surly, miserable bastard generally.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
It comes from the journo side, quite cynical, because you have to be, because you read stories and then you find out it was all con fake news. We wouldn't do that, would we?
We would never do that. We would never do fake news.
So Paul's a bit like me.
Yes.
Because Paul's always like, knock something down.
Yes.
Isn't he?
Yes.
So, and...
why build somebody up?
Why build somebody up? Paul will go in the room and he will just like find someone's weakness and just knock them down.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Right. I quite find that funny, but at times it's annoying. Anyway, he's going to love this, isn't he?
He's going to hate you.
He's going to hate you. Paul, this is all about you. And then I sort of thought, this is love. We've got no money. This is all his psychobabble. Think positive. What is he talking? Pile of cack. And I went away, as I normally do when you say loads of crap. And I ruminated, and I thought, maybe he's right. Maybe if I change my attitude, because one thing we haven't mentioned is people would ask us how the business is going.
Yeah, that really used to wind me up.
And people would ask me how, and I'd go, oh yeah, and I said, well, we're doing all right, but we're making no money.
Okay, bring the camera back to me. It really annoys me, this bit. Okay, so for 3 months. So we actually were getting a name in the industry. So people were going, oh God, you're doing so well. And I go, no, it's been fantastic. We're getting more viewers, we're getting more readers.
Lies.
We got more. No, it wasn't lies. We were getting viewers and readers.
From 0 to get 3 was.
Come on. So in 4 years, we went from 0 to 22,000 uniques per month. So it wasn't just zero.
No, but we're not talking.
No, okay.
We're talking 6 months into
No, we're talking about 18 months in.
No, we're 6 months in.
Well, we can argue.
Yeah, well, shut up.
I remember it so well.
No, this is so wrong.
So for 3 months, we're going out, and everyone's beginning to know who we are. And they go, Ross, how are you doing? I said, oh, we're going really well. We've got this. We're doing well, and I really feel it's going places. And then he go, yeah, but we're making no money. He said this for 3 months. He said, and of course, I was not allowed to
Journalists,
grab
tell
him
the
by the
truth.
neck and throttle him
Tell the
while we're
truth.
having these meetings.
Yeah, it's all right.
Anyway, after 3 months, I decided to turn around and say, right, I'm going to play a little role scenario with you. I said, how are we doing? He goes, well, we're doing all right, but we're making no money. I said, okay, right.
Put the money aside.
I'm going to turn it around. I said, right, so ask me, okay, how are we getting on? And you went, all right, how are we getting on? I said, we're doing really well, we've got this, and we're expecting these clients, etc., etc. I said, right, what sounds different? And he went, oh yeah, sounds really positive, you're one.
I didn't say that.
Oh, what did you say then?
I said, well, you would say that, wouldn't you? Because, just like Mr. kind of, I've got one limb, but the other limb's working. He's like that.
It's not Monty Python, isn't it?
He's like that.
You're cowards. I can still fight.
So I did that bit, which I think reflectively was a good point. I went back and I thought, okay, let me have a think about this. Yeah, we are doing. We've got a very nice, product. We've got some really young, great young kids working for us. We are getting some stuff. So then I went, okay, not lie, but just omit that part about the finances and start to go there. And I have to say, things did start to pick up.
3 months later?
Yeah, 3 months. 3 or 4 months later, we started to get some more stuff. So we then progressed, and we got to probably beginning of 2012. And we'd been going along, and we'd been running sort of the news channel. By this time, we'd had some advice who told us to get a website.
Yes.
So we'd had a bit of a small website we put up, and we got. Was it your idea to go to Google to get us accredited? I can't remember how you got it.
No, we decided we needed to go because we knew the content wasn't being seen. So we said, right, we both said, right, we've got to get on Google. We went, and when we went to WordPress because that's what we heard about. And then I spoke to a contact in the industry, and I said, oh, we're doing this. And they said, oh, that's a really good idea. You should do that. And I said, yeah, what would help us if we once we got on Google? He said, you need to get accredited as a news site, and that took about 6 months. In fact, they turned us down the first time, which was really annoying because we'd done everything they wanted. However, once we got onto Google, it started to really motor.
Yeah, and that when we used to search ourselves first of all, remember we were on page like 72.
Oh yeah,
we were way down, and then you just go up and up because we were producing original content every day. And that was the thing, and lots of it, really, really good stuff as well. And also the thing that happened, and this was, I think, a great bit of bullshit, or you can call it guilt. So we'd started, as I said, May the 10th. The election had happened. If you remember that coalition election, there was a limbo period before the coalition came in, and Chris Hoon had been made Energy Secretary. So I took Simon, our young cameraman, Jay and I, we went down there to College Green, where and I saw my old mates from the BBC crew. So the BBC had their hut there. And there's all these people there, and George Alagai and all that. And they go, how are you doing? I said, oh yeah, running this news channel. Been in existence about 2 days.
It was 2 weeks.
2 weeks, exactly. And so I spotted a guy who's become a good friend of ours, Nick Turton, who was, at the point, Nick was the sort of press secretary for the Energy Secretary. And I went up, I said to one of the guys at the BBC, who's that bloke? He goes, oh, he's the press secretary. I said, right, I've got to go and get to the minister. So I said to him, hi mate, look, we're from Energy Live News. He's like, who are you? I'm like, oh, we're the leading business news website for energy users in the UK, all the major energy users. Your minister has got to be on it. And he went, okay, fine then. So I got the minister. And the minister, I'd met him once years ago at the BBC. And I said, oh, hi, Chris, you remember me? Of course he didn't. And he said, where are you from? I said, Energy Live News, the leading... He said, oh, yes, I've heard of it.
That's brilliant. That's the best bit.
That was the best
when you came
bit.
back and said, yeah, right.
And then we bagged an interview with him.
Yes.
And this is the sort of stuff we did that got us that accreditation. We bagged really big players by just frankly having balls to go out there and having the camera and doing something different.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you were bagging clients.
Yeah.
And that was the really weird thing from where we started with no contacts and no kind of knowledge. We just, in 2 different realms.
But here, this is where we come back to now. This is the salutary lesson for today, everybody. On message, we had no idea where we wanted to take it. Energy Live News, we always knew we wanted it to be the news site for energy, for industrial and commercial energy users. It was really simple. Our elevator pitch is, if you need to use lots of energy, we'll help give you the news on it, which will help you to make better decisions. It's not difficult.
No.
You know, if you're going to run a business and you've got an elevator pitch which is within 10 seconds, and you're really committed to that, you're probably going to be fine.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think that the confusion that we had with On Message was it was trying to be everything to everyone.
Yes.
Whereas we chose a market. And I suppose, you know, if you do an MBA, you know all this stuff. You know, choose a market, a vertical, or whatever all these terms we've learned. We didn't. We just
haven't?
No, I haven't. You know, I'm pretending I have. we decided, okay, we know what we're going to do. We're going to do news because I know news, and he knows that you can flog it.
Yeah.
And we also thought energy is a sector where it's not going to go away. We always need energy. Yeah. It's got lots of money because it's got lots of big companies. And the thing that was really good for me was it's always changing. Yeah. So it had two things. Whenever I look at something, what's really interesting, does it have a policy and a technology pull? And they both do. Energy always has that, because energy is so vital that the policy absolutely affects what we do, and the technology drives it.
Yeah.
And also, you know, there were different players for you to go and approach, weren't there?
Yeah.
So, moving fast forward to the last bit of crisis in this program. And that is the decision that we made after we went to see an energy company's conference. So we went to see this energy company's conference, and we both came out of it and said, "This is pretty pants.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We could do this."
Yeah.
And then you met two blokes.
Oh, who were? We can't mention their names.
No,
either.
exactly. But you met two blokes who said, "Oh, you should. You know, you could do a conference. We can help you."
Yeah. So they found out we had an audience. So in fact, it was one person in particular.
Yeah.
Said, well, if you've got an audience, you should be doing a conference. And we said, well, we don't know how to run a conference. And he went, I do, and I've got another guy that can help. So they came on board, and we managed to bag the energy minister, which was Ed Davey at the time. We had Volker Beckers of Empower, who's going to be a keynote.
And we had a sponsor.
EY, headline sponsor. And frankly, we didn't know what we were doing, and these guys were meant to be helping us out. Well, after 3 months of them helping us,
zero had been.
We fired them. Because they knew what they were doing, they just couldn't do it for us, though. No. So we had to get rid of them, and then we were really into what we're going to do.
So what I suppose the big lesson for that was, sometimes when you're starting off, you go and you meet people and you don't know who they are, right? Yeah. And you trust people on what you feel and what you see. And you can I think the lesson we really learnt there, which was, and I think it's a very valid, salient lesson for business people, is sometimes you got to do it yourself. You can bring in all the expertise, and you can probably pay for it. But if it doesn't work, you've got two choices. Either you're out, or you do it yourself. Yeah. And so we got to a stage, and this was a crisis moment. So this was another one. So we had the boss of Npower, Volker, as he said. We had one sponsor. We'd chosen to bite off far more than we could chew by going to a very expensive venue, QE2, because we thought this was good for Manchester, for Westminster and bringing in stuff. And so we'd lost the people who knew apparently what to do. So we had two problems. We haven't got an audience.
No.
And we ain't got any sponsors.
Well, we had one spot. So we went and decided to get some audience. We got the audience, and then we realised that we were going to lose even more money because we had no more sponsors.
So we had three choices. We were either we called the event off, and then we would look like absolute dicks, right? Or we hire someone else in. We had no money. Or we do it ourselves. And that, I think, is basically the absolute moment this company took off.
Yeah, okay. But that's also, it took us up, but also I wonder if it's, and this is maybe where we come to next week, is where we've also got to a point where we're not doing as well as we could be because we're still in the business.
Maybe.
Or sorry, should I say that another way, is that not so much us, but Energy Live News, I think, could be so much better.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if it's because we're now the obstacles, because actually we've got a great team around us, but we don't allow them to do as much as they should do. And that's a good ending.
That is a good ending.
That's a good ending.
Control, Alt, Delete. Right. If you like those ramblings, you can always hear us on a podcast, because I know some people do. Shout out to Ellie Curran, I think. This time we are wearing different clothes, Ellie, just so you know. Please subscribe, smash the button, as Tia keeps saying. Follow us on our Insta and our Twitter and other bits and bots. Bork Business will be back. And remember, if you want to drop us a line, put a comment below, good or bad. He'll answer it.